Okay, so we're going to talk about a thing called the discriminant, and it's a part of the quadratic formula. So there are two formulas that you guys know really well. One is called the axis of symmetry formula. Symmetry formula. And what is that again? X equals negative b over 2a. And then you also know the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula. And that is what? X equals negative b.
Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Okay. Notice that they both have negative b over 2a, right? Negative b over 2a. What is different about the quadratic formula? Hello?
Is it bigger?
What's different? What does it have that that doesn't have? The only thing it has is that doesn't have is it has the plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Right? That's the only difference. Oh my gosh. Right? That doesn't look like a 4, so I'm going to change that. Okay, so that, do I have a colored pencil? That is, that red thing right there, that is actually called the discriminant. So, I'm going to just, okay, so the discriminant, technically, the discriminant is technically this, b squared minus 4ac. Okay? That's technically the discriminant. I prefer to say it is the square root of b squared minus 4ac. I find that much easier. I don't have to memorize anything because when the minute I put the square root over it, it makes more sense to me, and you'll see why. And really, technically, there's a plus or minus there too. That helps a lot. Just having that whole thing there as your discriminant with the plus or minus, it will really help a lot. The only thing the discriminant is for, the only thing the discriminant tells you, the only thing the discriminant tells you, oh dear, this is a hard one to spell. Discriminant tells you is 1. How, well, no, not even 1. It just tells you how many solutions are there. How many solutions there are. That's all it tells you. That's it. How many solutions there are to a quadratic equation, right? So think about it. So if I have a graph, right? If I have a graph and I have this, how many solutions are there to that?
2.
Yeah, what is this? A solution is a 0. It's the same thing as a 0. In other words, it's the same thing as an x-intercept. X-intercept, zeros, roots, solutions, they're all the same thing. This is the solution right here, and this is the solution right here. It has 2 solutions, right? Okay? What about this one? How many solutions does that have? Only 1. It only has 1 solution right there. All right, what about this? 0 solutions. It never crosses the x-axis. Solutions for quadratics are only when it crosses the x-axis or touches the x-axis, right? So this crosses in 2 places, so there's 2 solutions. This touches in 1 place, so there's only 1 solution. This doesn't touch at all the x-axis, there's no solution. It's still a parabola, it's just it doesn't cross the x-axis, right? Okay? All right. So now let's do one, and let's sort of start to see the way you interpret these. Let's say I did, actually, let me just erase this. A little more space. Okay. So let's say I did this one. 2x squared. So this is our first one. We're going to do 3. First one is 2x squared. Is this on the thing? Yeah. Okay. 2x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals 0. Okay? So you always have to have it equal 0, right? To know your a, b, and c. And I need my b and my a and my c. I need all of them, don't I? So my a is 2, my b is 6, and my c is 5. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to use my discriminant, and I'm going to just do this. I've got b squared, 6 times 6 is 36, minus 4 times 2 times 5. All right, so I'm going to try that. I've got plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 5 is 40. What do you notice? What is the answer going to be? Is it going to be positive, negative, or 0? It's going to be negative. Therefore, what do we know immediately? There are no solutions. It's going to be like this one, or like this. In this case, it's a positive a, so it'll be happy face. It's never going to cross the x-axis. It's going to be sort of like that, right? Does that make sense? Right? You see now, like, if you just did this, the official definition of discriminant, and you didn't put the square root sign over it, and you had 36 minus 40, you'd think, well, that's okay. Negative 40, I mean negative 4, whatever, right? But the minute I put the square root over it, I know that you can't have the square root of a negative number. So to me, the square root helps. I don't have to memorize so much. Does that make sense? See what I mean? So immediately I know it's going to be plus or minus the square root of a negative number. A negative number, therefore, that means therefore in math, 3 little dots. No solution. All right, just to 5. You get that? Make sense? So if the number under the square root sign is negative, there is no solution. Okay, so that's number 1. Now let's try number 2. So let's say we have sure, why not? We'll just do this one. X squared minus 7 equals 0. So this is a binomial, but it's still quadratic, right? And I got to remember, what is my b? My b isn't there. What is my b really? 0. So I've got an a is 1, right? A equals 1. My b equals 0. And my c equals what? Negative 7, right? So suddenly, all I'm asking is, using the discriminant, find the number of solutions. So my discriminant is plus or minus the square root of b squared, that's 0, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 7. All right. So immediately I see negative 4 times negative 7 is positive 28. So suddenly I have plus or minus the square root of 28. It's a positive number, right? So if that number is positive, it will have a square root, right? Every positive number has a square root, right? It may not be a perfect square root. It might not, it might go on forever and ever. It might be a decimal that goes on forever and ever, but it's still going to have a square root. And because you have the plus or minus there, you're going to have 2 answers, right? You're going to have negative b plus the square root of 28, or negative b minus the square root of 28 all over 2a, right? Does that make sense? Right? So you're going to have 2 solutions. Because the square root of 28 is positive, it has a solution, and I'm going to do plus or minus that. Therefore, there will be 2 solutions. Does that make sense? Yes? You get it? All right. So therefore, my answer is there are 2 solutions. There are 2 solutions. That's all I was asked to do with the discriminant. There are 2 solutions. All right? So that was number 2. And now I'm going to do my number 3 over here. We'll run in the way. Number 3, really fast. And if the bell rings, just stay where you are. Okay? We're going to just finish this really fast. 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 0. 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 0. Okay, what's my a? Positive 4, right? What's my b? Negative 12. What's my c? 9. Okay, so plus or minus the square root of b squared. So 144, right? Minus 4 times a, 4, times c, 9. Okay? Let's see, 4 times 4 is 16 times 9. 16 times 9. I think that's 144, isn't it? 16 times 9. 9 times 6 is 54, right? 9, yeah, 144. So we have, now suddenly we have plus or minus the square root of 144 minus 144, which means what? Okay, so plus or minus the square root of 0. So 0 has a square root, it's 0, right? You can have the square root of 0, it's 0. How many solutions are you going to be having then? You're going to be adding 0 to your b,
So there's one solution.
or you're going to be subtracting 0. 0 doesn't change anything from the negative b, right? So it's only going to be one solution, exactly. So when the number under the square root sign is 0, it only touches, it dips down and touches the x-axis only in one spot, and then it goes back up again, right? So if it's 0, there is one solution. All right? So, to review, recap really fast. When you use the discriminant, all you're looking for is the number of solutions. And so your final thing is, what can I erase? All this. This is really important. Put this part in your notes, okay? Really important. Okay, interpreting the discriminant. If two solutions, what am I saying? If discriminant is positive, there are two solutions. Two solutions. Okay? If discriminant, I'm going to abbreviate, is negative, right? There are how many solutions? There are no solutions, right? No solutions, right? If the discriminant is 0, there is one solution.
On the homework, are we just going to have to put how many solutions there are, or and the answer, or just like how many solutions?
On the homework, that's a good question. On the homework, on the first page, it's mixture word problems. On the last page, on the back, it says, first use the discriminant to see how many solutions there are. If there are no solutions, just say so. Okay? So if you get a negative number into the square root sign, there's no solution, you just write no solutions, you're done. But if you have one solution or two solutions, after using the discriminant, I want you to go and solve and tell me what are the solutions. Okay? Okay? Is that clear? Let me just turn this off. Hopefully it worked. It did.